I have stood before the door of the one true God, Malzaroth, the endless hunger in the void. Well, talk about setting a mood, right? Those chilling words come straight from Hunan Rollo, a pirate who basically turned into a fanatic. And honestly, it perfectly sets the tone for the absolute, mind-bending cosmic horror we're about to jump into today.
Because the real question we're answering today is this: what ancient, terrifying forces are actually pulling the strings in the darkest corners of the CARRION Empire? You've got factions brutally vying for power, suppressing truths, and, worst of all, waking up things that definitely should have been left to sleep. So, welcome to this explainer. We are doing a full grimdark breakdown of the CARRION Empire. We're going to peel back the layers of this universe, starting out in the lawless fringes of deep space and working our way straight down into a terrifying cosmic center. Because here, humanity's biggest threat isn't just everyday political corruption, it's an ancient, literal hunger in the dark. Part 1. The Lawless Outer Void. We're starting our journey out on the fringes, in the gritty, grounded reality of free space. Out here, far from the safety of the civilized worlds, survival essentially boils down to a loaded weapon, a working engine, and a crew that actually has your back. We get introduced to this universe through Captain Orion Bloodhunter. He's what they call a void runner, one of those independent operators doing the dirty work the great houses simply won't touch. Bloodhunter himself used to be a noble from House Shark, you can even tell by his sharpened teeth. But he threw away all his titles and inheritance just to fly a modified assault raider called the Black Sun, smuggling cargo and secrets through space where the law literally does not exist. And the ecosystem out here, it is absolutely ruthless. Bloodhunter and his crew navigate these things called ghost lanes, where ships just vanish and pop back up completely empty. Creepy, right? They drift past dead worlds with Golden Age ruins buried under gray dust. You've got scavenger fleets, lawless pirate hubs like the industrial wasteland of Rift's Wall, and even disgraced exiles like the fallen nobles of House Dragon, who are out there carving up brutal empires in the dirt with chained cyberdrakes. Everyone is just trying to survive the dark. Section 2. The Holy Church's Crusade. As we move inward from those fringes, we hit the massive totalitarian roadblock trying to control this whole mess. This is the Holy Church of the Codex Empire. And man, the contrast between their PR and their reality is wild. Just listen to their propaganda. The light has turned back a beast from the oldest darkness. The light is your shield. Sounds incredibly comforting, yeah? But behind closed doors? The reality is that church fathers are running literal pain echo chambers. They actively suppress any reports of cosmic threats just so they don't look weak, and they'll casually order the execution of innocent lower-deck workers just to cover up their own blunders. To keep that iron grip on power, they rely on some seriously terrifying tools. We're talking secret orbital platforms like Lone Star that function as black site prisons. You've got guys like Fathers Drichtel, Gammon, and Rotolo using shock chains and water drip torture to just completely break people. And if those local fear tactics don't work, High Priest Tyrell doesn't hesitate to call in his heavy hitter, the dreaded Inquisitor Hunter Hannibal Greyblood. This is a guy who will publicly execute high-ranking fathers without batting an eye, just to keep everyone in line. Section 3. The Cult of Ash. Now, here is where the story takes a massive turn. Because the church's cruelty, it directly birthed its own worst enemy, right there in the lower maintenance decks of the Lone Star Station. Look at how this boils over. For years, the lower deck mechanics and dock workers were crushed by insane taxes and horrific purges. Then, about 11 years ago, a guy known as the Father of Ash steps up and starts organizing these broken people into a secret network. Fast forward to 3 years ago, and they start getting their hands on black market reactor cores and highly classified intel from this mysterious source called Neverlight. This took a desperate group of everyday workers and transformed them into a hyper-coordinated, fanatical resistance capable of violently breaching a heavily guarded church sanctum just to rescue a single pirate.
But the absolute true horror of the Cult of Ash isn't their smuggled weapons, it's their fanaticism. To take down the church's elite paladins, these cultists will willingly sacrifice their own bodies to unleash void-born stalkers. What are those? They are 7-foot, eyeless, black-plated cosmic horrors that violently tear themselves free from the cultists' own ribcage. Acid-spitting nightmares. It's a shocking, gruesome look at what oppressed people will do when pushed past the breaking point.
Section 4. The Ancient House Kraken. So let's zoom out a bit more to look at the puppet masters.
Remember that mysterious source called Neverlight funding the cult of Ash? Well, it turns out House Kraken never actually died. Over 1,000 years ago, the church and the great houses supposedly wiped them out for the ultimate heresy, worshipping the void. But they didn't die. They just retreated to the dead worlds, specifically to Neverlight. And for a millennium, they've been sitting there, nursing their hatred, pulling the strings from the shadows, and gearing up for one massive comeback.
To pull off this grand return, House Kraken rebuilt themselves around 3 pillars to perfectly blend military might with cosmic fanaticism. First, there's the power, which controls all their hidden fleets and soldiers wearing this terrifying, living, mutating void armor. Then you have the prince. Right now that's Deep Prince Seltan, who handles the noble bloodline and house law. And finally, you have the priest, the spiritual leader whose sole purpose is to open the way for something they call the Black Dream.
And trust me, Kraken holds a grudge. To settle their ancient scores, Prince Seltan forces captured warriors from the great houses to fight to the death in brutal arena combat. House Wolf, House Phoenix, House Snake, and House Mantis. You see, House Wolf hunted Kraken children through ice stations. Phoenix lit orbital fires over their worlds. Snake sold out their hiding spots. And Mantis trained the executioners. Now, their descendants are bleeding out in the sand while a resurrected House Kraken cheers them on.
Section 5. The Door to Malzarath. Finally, we reach the terrifying core of our grimdark breakdown.
Everything we've covered points to one cosmic entity and a literal tear in reality. Let's look at the terrifying evolution of Hun and Rolo, the guy I quoted at the very start of this explainer. He began as just a regular pirate and relic hunter. Then he gets captured by the church, brutally tortured in their frames on Lone Star. I mean, his throat was literally slit, but somehow he heals through cosmic intervention. The Cult of Ash rescues him, brings him to Neverlight, and there he realizes his true Kraken bloodline. An elder shadow of the void, hovering and freezing the room, actually anoints him as the priest of the Black Dream. He is the living key House Kraken was waiting for.
And Rollo's whole journey is marked by these mind-bending artifacts of unmaking. We're talking about a black metal puzzle cube wrapped in gold thread that gives you nosebleeds and horrifying visions if you just stand near it. Hidden underground temples on dead moons in the ghost lanes. Towering black monoliths pumping out void mist and mind control frequencies that make men carve symbols into their own flesh. And my personal favorite, massive vertical doors made of solid, bending black liquid. It proves that this threat isn't just a political uprising. It's a literal physical tear in the fabric of reality.
Ultimately, all of this, the scrappy void runners, the hypocritical cruelty of the church, the fanatical cults, and House Kraken's 1,000-year revenge, it's all circling the drain of Malzaroth's arrival. Malzaroth is the endless hunger in the void, an ancient, godlike, cosmic entity that literally consumes souls and dictates the great unmaking of the entire galaxy.
Which brings us to Deep Prince Seltan. As he calmly steps through a literal tear in reality, leaving absolute devastation behind him, he gives us this haunting promise. He says, the door will open. Try to be somewhere interesting when it does. Wow, talk about inescapable doom, right?
So we're left staring at a chilling reality. The CARRION Empire is completely blinded by its own corruption. The church is too busy burning its own innocent workers to cover up its failures, and the great houses are just playing politics. Meanwhile, House Kraken and the Cult of Ash are holding the keys to the Black Dream. So we really have to ask, when the void finally opens, who is even left to stop the endless hunger of the dark? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep asking the big questions.